Okay, welcome to the Wisdom Lovers. So, my name is Aurora, and with me there is
Kadesh.
Kadesh. So, the Wisdom Lovers.
Yeah.
I want to bring in the topic today of intimacy. And I want to, start with a little backstory.
Okay.
So, as the name that we chose for this podcast, Wisdom Lovers,
Yeah.
I have been a lover of wisdom for a long time, but what I thought was wise turned out to maybe not be so nice.
What do you mean?
So what I mean is that from childhood, I put much energy and focus and importance to my education, like learning, studying, being clever, getting good grades. And I considered myself to be a wise person. Everything around me kind of supported that idea that I had of myself, like the good grades, my surrounding and the people around me admiring my skills in school, and even friends, even my mother came to me for advice or emotional support when I was quite young, maybe like 9, 10 or something. So like everything in a way reflected to me that I was wise. And I was proud about that. But then at the age 27, having worked as an engineer for maybe 2-3 years or something, I find myself in the state of being burnt out, completely depleted, miserable, and actually just really in a deep state of self-pity, like what the fuck, I did everything one is supposed to do to be happy. And I just found myself in the situation of being really unhappy. My body was weak and sick, very confused, and somehow everything in life seemed very empty, with lack of purpose. I didn't feel alive. It was more just everything I did was just trying to keep me afloat and prevent me from drowning. So, at age 27, I realized that I wasn't so wise. And, humbled enough to acknowledge that I really did not know how to truly live. I didn't know what brought me joy. I didn't know what really mattered to me. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I did not want. And I realized, like, I have no idea. So all the wisdom that I thought I was living turned out to be really hollow.
Yeah.
And soon, after I quit my career of engineering and I started just really humbly navigating the path of the heart, the word intimacy became an important word for me.
What do you mean, the path of the heart?
What do I mean with the path of the heart? It's in a way not trusting or depending on the ideas that I have about myself and how I should live and how I should be and what is the right way, but more surrendering the ideas to the moment and to something that I feel more. It's more like living from something deeper, like something that feels juicy, something that feels alive, but not from the idea of this will bring me juice or this will bring me a sense of purpose or sense of self-worth, or just to stay closer in a way to my heart.
To what you feel, basically, to be more acknowledging your feelings.
Yeah, that's one way to speak of it.
Rather than trying to adjust your feelings to what you think you should feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and also a big part of that journey has been to not plan too much,
Mm-hmm.
but in a way allow it to unfold, because I realized that my planning and my visions and my goals and they weren't always what was best for me. So in a way, just to not plan, not hold on to ideas, but more coming closer to the present moment of how life is actually showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But back to the word intimacy.
Yeah.
So that became kind of like a mantra for me. Like, how intimate can I be with life? How intimate can I be with everything that I'm experiencing or touching or tasting or seeing or listening to in every moment? And of course, a part of that is a big journey. There is the intimacy of where people meet, where I'm not just intimate with my cup of tea and sensing it as much as I can and being fully present with it, but how intimate can I be with other people?
What do you mean intimacy with cup of tea?
It's being present. It's like sensing, it's feeling.
Okay.
Because I guess our life story, our life experiences are quite different on that. But for me, so much of my experience has been without really registering what I'm doing, because I'm so much thinking about something else than is actually happening in that moment.
Yeah, it just, the word intimacy, like the meaning of it, as far as I understand the meaning, is about meeting of two subjects. And then you meeting a cup of tea, it's meeting an object. There is a like distortion in the understanding of the term, of the word intimacy for me. So then, okay, what does it mean for you? And then what does it mean then? So you say to be fully present. So why to say intimacy and not presence? What is the difference?
Could be used, but for me it's like it has more of a heart feeling. Presence can be more neutral in a way. And there's something like about the love. There is something, when I speak of intimacy, there's more, I don't know, sacredness, or it feels like I'm more a part of. I'm not as much of like a neutral witness as if just being present. And of course, like, it can be my interpretation, but that's the sense that I get. And also, like, intimacy is, as you say, like more spoken of when maybe people meet or something, like two subjects.
Yeah.
But I like this sense of that I'm meeting life, even though it is a piece of matter, it's an object, that I meet life in it. That's like, even though it looks dead or dull, or like, how alive can that connection be for me?
But it is only from your side of experience, because the cup does not experience.
What do we know?
Because a cup does not exist by itself without you defining it as a cup. It's an idea in your head. There is no actually cup by itself. Comparing to a subject that is existing by itself.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it's a play of words and like what kind of for me it's like what brings me alive. But I'm more interested in bringing the topic into your view on intimacy.
Yeah.
And also maybe just reflecting on like how can we bring it more into our lives so our way of living and our life experience feels more alive. It feels more juicy. It feels more connected and present and intimate.
Well, so far from what you've shared, I will then distinguish between intimacy and presence and sacredness. And then can be a sacred presence or consecrating presence. Comparing to intimacy.
What does consecrating presence mean?
Consecrating, meeting something as sacred. And my understanding of intimacy is how deep we get to know each other as two beings, as two people, as two subjects, more to say. It can be beings, but people, let's say. As more people get to know each other more and more, the more intimately they know each other. And what does it mean to get to know each other more? It's like there is a certain balance between where we are allowing ourselves to be seen, and doesn't mean we are seen in where we allow, and it doesn't mean we are not seen in where we're not allowing. But it's the willingness to be transparent, basically to not hide parts of me. And as more as I allow myself to be met holistically, to that you know all of me, and there is the part of not hiding, and then also the willingness to meet more, to let you, or to support you to see more of me, and vice versa, to want to meet more of you, to get to know these parts. Oh, and what is there, and maybe you hiding, and then it's becoming complex, and then the intimacy gets limited, and maybe you are welcoming, this is that, and this is that, and then the intimacy gets deeper. And
given that the other person wants to meet these parts. Wants to see and wants to include.
Of course, there can be a situation that I don't want to meet a certain part in you, but you want to be met in that part, so I will avoid the intimacy by avoiding meeting that. And so this is maybe to say one type of avoidance, and the other type of avoidance is when I want to meet part in you and you just not allowing me to meet that by taking my attention around it, or just blocking, or in whatever defense mechanism maybe to call, or strategy, but you're not welcoming my awareness to meet that side of you. So that's the other way of intimacy, is not getting deeper. But in the first option, that is that I am avoiding, like, it's like you see me and I'm trying to cover it up and not to be seen, and like it takes more energy because I invest the energy to hide certain aspect, and it's not because you try to me that, but because I actively try to hide, comparing to if I just, when you try to meet a certain part, I'm just defending it. So it's kind of like two ways. The first one just is more exhausting. For example, the first one is like when I actively keep a secret away from you and I don't want you to know. So I need to remind myself, okay, this don't expose, this hide, and how to weave the story that you will not get it. It's a very exhausting way. It's an active prevention of intimacy. Comparing to the other way, which is more a passive prevention, which is like I'm just not cooperating in letting you see parts in me. And if you really try, I might actively prevent. So it will be more exhausting. But that's how intimacy is limited. And the other way is actually also two elements. One is how much one is open to expose themselves, to be seen in all our parts. And the other is how much there is will to get to know the other. Like, how much do I want? Like, how much attention do I focus in getting to know more of you? Or how much willingness there is from you, so like wanting for me to meet parts in you. So it's like these two elements. And of course, vice versa. It's not just one side.
So I'm wondering,
Yeah.
at least in my experience,
Yeah.
it can be scary to allow someone to see parts of me that I don't really want others to see. Like it's like risking something because it's something that I feel ashamed of, or I have an agenda I want to manipulate and control. So like showing you might actually decrease my ability to get what I want.
Yeah.
So it's like it can be risky. Like, will you actually be able to hold? Will you want to meet this part of me? Which I guess like it's coming from some earlier memory of experiencing it not being met.
Yeah.
Not being allowed or being shamed or So is it always wise to be intimate?
You were talking about to be intimate with life. And I would take, like, I go back to the example being intimate with a cup of tea. There is a big difference in being intimate with another person than to be intimate with life. And I think what you, correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding, but the way I understand what you say is like your will or your wish to be intimate with a cup of tea, it's actually to feel intimate with life also when you drink the cup of tea, also when your attention is focusing on objects, because life exists in everything. You experience life as like omnipresent, kind of present in everything, and meeting life, there is a difference in that, comparing to meeting a person, that life is something that you are part of, comparing to a person that is a different subject. You are one subject and that is a different subject. Life is kind of like a super subject. It's containing all of us, and it's that one maybe being or isness that is happening through all of us. And we can meet life intimately if we meet ourselves intimately. It's kind of like another dimension of experience. It's feeling intimacy basically generally, because I meet myself. And it means then it's again those two elements of that support intimacy in my connection with myself. They are always on. There is not the off state which is preventing intimacy, which again, it's like the willingness to meet every part of me and the desire to meet every part of me. So there is a motivation to do that, and there is also allowance. Comparing to the resistance, like keep parts hidden from myself in like subconscious or unconscious, and active avoidance like repression, like or post-traumatic behavior that is actively avoiding meeting part inside. So these two are kind of preventing, and the second one is even more exhausting. So when there is the passion to meet myself, to know myself, it's like know thyself. It's kind of when someone is fully on that, truly with itself and want to know itself more. So it's kind of a cyclic existence of a consciousness that wants to know itself more and getting nourished by it, and with that nourishment focusing even knowing itself more, and it's just keep on spinning around like it's and this is in a way a microcosm of life meeting itself through me. So or in a way I meet myself, and within myself I have all the possible parts, and everyone external that I meet is a reflection of me. So then it can be kind of taken like a fourth person perspective in a way. Like it's a whole system that operates into meeting itself more. So then I can be intimate with life, which means if I walk, I don't know, in the street, or I come to an event and there are other people, I am already transparent. I'm not playing a role that is existing there in order to hide what is there. I don't invest that energy, because I also within me that is meeting myself, and this is where it's outsourcing. But it can also be in a way like just be seen, like let the heart be naked in front of the whole humanity, and be seen with its vulnerability, what you express, the fear.
But when you say that you come into, for example, an event or gathering, transparent.
Yeah.
Do you, like, how can you know if you are being fully transparent and nothing is being repressed or hidden away in the unconscious?
I don't need every part to be met by another person in order to affirm that it is not hidden, because it's my journey to meet myself that is just rippling outside, and there can be parts that are not acknowledged by anyone. There can be parts that are not seen, and in a way why they are not seen, it's maybe because the person don't want to see that part.
But you mean that you know for sure But nothing is unconscious for you? Is that what, like...
No, it's not
so
that nothing is unconscious. There is full willingness and even desire to meet myself, to know myself more. It's full honesty in a way. It's just honesty and always investing attention in the accuracy of my expression of what is most authentic. And I know that I'm not hiding just because I'm not investing effort in hiding, basically.
So you can in a way monitor it by... Like, how do you monitor it? Like, how do you know? Just by sensing your investment of energy?
Yeah, it's observing my thoughts. What I think about. And there are patterns of thinking that are covering up. So I just don't invest in these directions of thought. So therefore I'm not actively hiding. And then when I meet people, I'm also not in a way reactively hiding. Like if I'm not going into these places when they see parts in me that are suddenly met. And if with that, I know that my essential will is to know myself better, and it's in a way maybe can be defined as why in the first place I interact is to get to know myself better. It's like through reflections, then I can know for sure that I am transparent. It doesn't mean I am aware of every part of me, but it's more I'm not preventing intimacy to happen, and intimacy can always deepen, the same as awareness can always grow. It's just about how we walk into the intimacy. Like, are we willing to get more intimate, or are we avoiding it?
So what is your take on, like, why?
Just one more session. It's like, we will never get to know each other fully, same as we will never get to know ourselves fully. It's more about the way. This is what I mean.
So for you, what is the benefits of living your life from the willingness of intimacy?
So from that perspective, like meeting everything within me, so the benefit is kind of from that motive. I want to get myself. I want to know myself, and like this is my motivation.
Why?
Why? Yeah. It's the most interesting thing. It's like the biggest mystery. It's fascinating. I'm curious.
So I'm curious. Like, can you share maybe? Can you share a profound experience where you met a part of you that you didn't know before, and like, what did it bring for you? How did it influence your life? Or
I don't know which one to choose. And when you say profound, what?
Or like something small, like, but just to give like a tangible example of like what is the potential when we meet apart, when we get to know ourselves better. What is the magic in that?
When we get to know ourselves better, I mean, yeah, there are so many ways I can answer, like, or so many directions I can come to that.
and I'm inviting it to be not too abstract, because just like, to know yourself. And it's like, just understanding where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It's like, and why? What is that about? Like, if my focus of intention of living is outside of myself, because that's how I've grown up and that's how I operate.
Yeah.
Like, what can you give me tangible of why should I look inward?
I can maybe. You have shared about your breakdown. If you would have known yourself better, you could prevent that to happen, right?
Yes.
You could be wiser in a way that you include more understanding of how you are in order to operate, and also even knowing better what you want. It's just an example. I think in more essence is like, if I know myself better, the investment of mental energy or of attention is just more efficient. I'm not wasting energy in directions that are not the authentic expression of the self. That is, it's kind of a loop. Like, to be a self that knows itself, it's a closed ring, but it's a closed loop that is empowering itself to radiate awareness. I can give a more experiential example. What comes just intuitively to my mind, it's more a radical example for making it tangible. I remember I had that understanding at a certain point in my life that actually there are sides within me. There is a Kadesh that is the professional, and then there is my side that is a friend or a family member in any position, or so on. And it's different parts of me suddenly express themselves. And it can be almost as if it is a different character in each position. And I took it even further, realizing, more to say, that actually every person I meet, there is something slightly different that is met there. It's kind of like a slightly different character.
And you mean like every person that you meet,
yeah,
you feel that it slightly brings something new out in you, something
different.
So
not necessarily new.
Right, something different than you.
Yeah, so if I meet my mom, there is a specific character that is interacting there, comparing to if I meet a colleague, or if I meet a lover, or just a stranger. It's like there is something slightly different that is me, that is expressed there. And taking it further, realizing that it's actually with every person is different. It can be like, there can be general categories, like strangers is a whole category, but with each person it's slightly different. And why it is different is because each person is mirroring to me a different side of myself. That's kind of where I took it. It's all within me, because I cannot perceive something that is not existing, like coded within my consciousness. And then I could take it even further. For example, like, okay, if I meet someone that is going to kill me, like, this is more a radical example, like, to meet those parts within me, like those I don't want to meet, it allows me to meet more of the parts when I coming from that perception that actually it's all about meeting myself. So that gave me a realization when I visualize that I meet someone that this someone, all its desire in the moment is to kill me. How do I meet that person? And okay, so I can feel the fear, I can feel the will to fight and defend, but can I stay in the feeling of love in that? And that was for me the realization that I can actually feel love even to someone that come to kill me. It does not mean I will not fight, but it's more about to be centered in that feeling and to know that as more essential than any interaction, even in so radical scenario. Is that answering?
I don't even remember what the question was. But what this brings to me, like having quite an experience of codependency and like pleasing patterns and wanting just to be love and light. And for example, in this kind of situation, it's like it's around boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I feel love.
Yeah.
And a person comes into my field and this person really wants to cause harm to me, the body or whatever. But I feel so much love. So I should be able to feel love and meet that person with love and light. And like, where's the difference? Where is like the balance of how do I know that my behavior, like what is in a way maybe outer, how do I root myself in that love and still allow every action in a way to be in its raw manifested form?
Yeah, and that's exactly the fourth person perspective in a way. It's like, it's because it's not in relation to who you meet. It's just the state you are. It's you meeting yourself, you getting to know yourself in love. And then you can meet other people, they are just reflecting parts of you. And can you stay in that essential force that unites all the parts within you? Can you stay in that holistic awareness of yourself while meeting another? And that is, the same idea. Like someone that comes to kill you, can you put boundaries, or would you just you want to kill me, like, but
I feel so much love in my heart, like
my
life, where I am gonna love you so much that you will realize before you stab me or however you're gonna
or
kill me.
while you stab me,
then you realize,
after.
oh gosh, it's all love. And
so sometimes a loving act can be actually to cut that person's hand while they try to stab, and then maybe to help heal the hand, but I mean, it's to put boundary does not mean not loving. It's more about, because love is kind of like what connects all the parts. So how can you connect a part that want to kill inside a collective of parts that don't go into that place of defending from death? And so it's kind of like, if you give full freedom to that part that want to kill, it will kill all the other parts and there will be nothing else left. So love, in a way, in its essence, is what allows all the parts to live together. Also the part that want to kill, but then it needs to be in proportion and not to be taking all the energy from the others. Therefore, boundaries are important. Without putting the boundaries, without defending in front of that person who tried to kill me, I cannot keep on loving. Love cannot keep on happening. I cannot stay in love. If I die, I cannot stay in love. I need to live in order to love. So, yeah,
and it brings me back to the word intimacy. And Because where I find most challenging to put boundaries is in deep, intimate relations with the ones who are closest to me, because there is this association and confusion of, if I love so much, and if I then put a boundary, there's a part that feels like then I'm creating a separation and I'm preventing the intimacy. But how you now bring it into like this, in a way, a holistic inclusion of parts, that if I don't put boundaries, if I don't invite all my parts to be as they are, it prevents intimacy.
Yeah, it definitely can.
So in a way, instead of the boundary to be something that separates, the lack of boundary is what separates.
In specific cases.
Yeah.
Like a radical example I can think of is someone going with a shotgun and start to shoot people in the city and just killing them. So how can I stay in love while meeting that person? Or even to like, and that's the thing. It's not a love. Does not mean I need to behave in a certain way to that person. It's just this. It's just my feeling. This is a subjective experience. But then I can express the compassion, and it would be, instead of torturing the guy that shoots now people, it's just to do the best that this person will understand, and first of all, to stop in any possible way from that person to keep on killing. And if there is no other choice, it might mean to kill that person even in order to save other lives. I mean, I can, like many religious practices in the past, it's like you slaughter the animal while blessing and thanking on the animal and feeling the love to it while you kill it. Like you can stay in loving state while you kill.
But that's kind of, I don't know, to call it like psychopathic or something, or sociopathic. I might be confusing the terms, but like if I convince myself that that I'm love and I'm in the state of love, and then I just treat people badly, and I'm not acknowledging the hurt that I'm causing all around me, like that. So there's like a slippery slope. There's a balance.
Yeah.
So I don't lose myself in justifying every act from coming from love because I am connected to divine love within me.
Yeah,
and not acknowledging it in the other and the human aspect.
And a great example for that is how then religion kill people that are not converting to their belief. They think they're doing it of love in a way. So love is not enough. It's not all. There is also the wisdom piece that is necessary. It's not. But you can stay in that state. This is what I mean. It's a piece of realization that I can stay in that state no matter who I meet. And then there is also the wisdom piece. Can I include as much parts as possible? And then other people is a support to know more parts within me, especially those who I am challenged to include, or where my love is challenged. How can I stay in that state? And it's not love towards them. It's me staying in that state of being loving, or just feeling love even. It's not even being loving, it's just feeling it. How can I integrate it? And sometimes it means, to put boundaries. Sometimes it means to be not flexible, but strong boundary. It depends on the case. But sometimes it means also to be not putting boundary and allowing. It's something else than the intimacy, because the intimacy is about awareness. It's about knowing each other deeper, or knowing myself deeper. And as more as I know myself, I can know love better, and then I can stay in that state more. Or as more as I know you, I can stay in love with you more. I can deepen the experience of love more. As more we know each other, like we can deepen it together.
So if, for example, there is a couple that have been partners for a while, and they know that there is love, but it doesn't feel intimate. It doesn't feel... Yeah, there's like a lack of intimacy. So what is that about? Like, according to what you're sharing, to my understanding, it's like because parts of the other are not seen, or like we feel that parts of us are not seen, and might also be like something that we want to bring forth and want to be seen is not seen and acknowledged, and some parts I am actually hiding and not wanting to share. So there's much less of us, like just small percentage of the wholeness of us that is actually meeting. So it feels lonely because there's so much of me that isn't meeting. It's not met. And of course, as you say, then I meet another person, and that person meets a slightly different percentage, like different parts of the whole. And then another one. But for example, like we are on this journey of slowly taking the steps to actually allow more of us to meet in each other.
That's an advantage of just meeting everyone as a reflection of the self. I meet everyone as a reflection of myself. It allows me to meet more and more parts within me, and then it gives a certain clarity of proportions of, like, with you I can meet certain parts and some not. But when I meet the wholeness of the parts within me, I can support you in deepening the intimacy with me. I can inspire you on meeting those parts you're not meeting in me. I can inspire you to meet it within yourself rather than looking to meet it somewhere else because I need it to be met from outside, and I can already meet it within. And then it's more the parts I meet through you, it's more nourished, of course. But it's not about the parts that are met. It's about the space itself where all the parts exist. That space that connect all of them. That field, which is love. Like that grows. As more parts are included, that grows. So if there are parts in me that are not, that I feel are not met with you, it's for me to meet those parts within me, first of all. And then when I can meet them, and in order for that, I might need to be inspired by meeting another person that can meet these parts. But eventually it's not about connecting to that person and to be nourished from there. It's more about that I can meet it within me. And then I can inspire you to meet those parts within you, so we can meet even more inclusively, with more part of us. So it's kind of deepening the intimacy. Yeah?
Yeah. And that's coming back to the cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about having a relation with the cup of tea, but it's like finding a deeper relationship with me, within me, with myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeling love within me, or curiosity, or aliveness, or presence. within everything that I meet.
Yeah, within you, and that ripples into like you as just one subject in the wholeness, meeting it through life itself, like this fourth person perspective in a way that you can be just a part of, or it can all exist within you. And yeah, I think that's the essence of intimacy. It is to bring us to get to know ourselves better. I mean, it's part of the value of what can I get for it. It's like,
so, for example, again, back to being in a relationship, like an intimate relationship with one person.
Yeah.
If that environment is not encouraging me or supporting me or challenging me to get to know myself more,
it's
like,
both ways. Because it's also your willingness. It's not just about that.
No, of course. Like, if I would be willing, I could do it with myself, of course.
But the environment is inspiring. Can support or not support.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's both ways.
But it is like this, it's a daring journey of meeting the unknown and being humble to meet parts that, like, and to acknowledge parts of us that...
Yeah, this, if you feel fear from the unknown, so yeah, it's daring. But it can be just innocent curiosity. That's exciting. Like, oh, what is there? And then it's even not scary.
Yeah, because like some parts is something that we have judgment of not being good. But there are also parts that we have judgment of that they are really good.
Yeah, and
so it's like it's in a way paving through that valley of unknown parts of us to retrieve both parts that like we are afraid to meet and we don't want to be, but also like there are also parts that we really want to be.
And it's coming together all the time. If there are parts you judge as good, there are parts you judge as not good. They are polar to each other, and the judging itself is actually a polarizing loop, and the judgment comes as adoption from a social, like a groupthink. And if you just remove that, or you meet that judge within, and you integrate that, you don't need to identify through that and operate through that anymore. You can just, okay, that's another part. And then there is just, it can be even taken to purely like third person perspective that is not my judgment, but it's like just an operation of like an algorithm of consciousness, a code getting to know itself better. So it's just growth of consciousness to include more parts. It doesn't need to be it
sounds like a computer game.
Yeah, it can be taken in that way.
That sounds like to me what you're describing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I try.
It's fun. It's a game. It's
yeah, or even just a natural process that is happening through, and I'm looking at that movie happening.
Instead of getting in the way of it, to more like facilitate and
or even just observing. Just witnessing.
Getting out of the way. Yeah. Well, just witnessing is getting out of the way.
Yeah.
Without taking it to either direction of like
without judgment of where it should go.
Yeah, like cutting the hand of the one who's trying to kill you. Like to allow it to unfold, like just naturally, but while staying in the center of the presence.
But the essential function of consciousness wanting to become more conscious, to awareness to grow, or self-knowledge to grow, like me wanting to know myself better. This is a base function. It's like choosing that as the base function that operates that system. So it's kind of a nerdy approach maybe to say, because it's like a computer algorithm, but it's functional. And it very much supports in not getting into the judgment or into the groupthink or into that defining good and bad, that then, yeah, okay, so I will meet some parts, but it actually, on the way, I will put other parts deeper under the carpet. And like,
yeah, what comes to me is it's more like a compassionate way to meet. It's like taking it less personal. And finding compassion for oneself and others in this ever unfolding of the consciousness becoming aware.
Yeah, it's a key for compassion, in the sense that from that perception allows compassion, but for the actual compassion as a manifestation, there needs to be really the care and like the passion to meet more parts, and not just the allowance. So it's like the passion to meet. So it become a calm that is communicate between all the parts, or like unite them.
And I mean, when you're playing a computer game, you're not just like sitting passively allowing things to unfold. No, you're really active. Like you're on a mission, and you're like, there is much drive and passion in.
Yeah,
when you play a computer game.
Yeah, so this is kind of taking it to a third-person perspective. But then, even if you come to a more holistic approach in that sense, like that you meet all parts as part of you, like, it's all like kind of a fractal, so you can even take it to a fourth-person perspective, which the language is even not so built for that, because it's... well, maybe it's another topic. It can go further, but yeah, the judgment is more about you're right or wrong. It's more about like second person perspective.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing your perspective.
For all the persons that have shared.
Yeah. All right. Anything you feel like sharing or mentioning before we close?
That you're another person that shared perspective. So thank you too.
Oh, yay. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Yeah.
And of course, like if you're listening and you feel curious about any topic you would like us to elaborate on, please let us know.
Yeah. It supports the growth of consciousness.
Might reflect to us an aspect of ourselves that we haven't met yet.
Yeah.